What's good, everybody? Hopefully you guys are doing good. So we are back today for another video. I'm gonna get a video up for you guys. That way when I come back from my 9 to 5 I can post it, but I'm gonna do the recording now. In case you guys are not aware, this is my Twitter page. Go ahead and follow me here. The fun never ends. We got a lot of good things here. I show you guys my gym stuff, my dividend stuff, a little bit of Shark Tank, Mr. Wonderful Kevin O'Leary. Always something to learn, guys, when you're watching them. A lot of good information there. Right now I'm currently at 447 followers. Thank you to everybody who's been following, who's been supportive, who's been leaving messages and notifications, all that good stuff. Really appreciate the support. This is the best way to contact me if you guys have any questions or suggestions, and then the link to my YouTube is right here. Alright, let's begin. Alright, so how are the markets doing so far? Right now it is about 12:30 Pacific Eastern Time, and we are slightly down, but not a whole lot. So what basically has caused us to kind of be down? Well, multiple factors, but to keep things simple, the US stock futures and global shares fall on Trump's bug news. Apparently Trump has the bug, guys. Who would have known? He has the bug. Now whether or not he got it from somebody or what the scenario is, he has it and Melania has it as well. I have a couple of links here to give more information on that, but people are saying that that may have potentially caused the markets to drop a little bit. Same thing with the Dow, as you guys can see, a little bit down, but nothing too crazy. But it says Dow shakes off Trump's positive bug test, turns positive on stimulus. The potential of a new stimulus. The Dow Jones Industrial had an awful September. Dow plunges more than 400 points after the bug diagnosis, but then it went back up because of the potential of a new stimulus, guys. Yes, we could have another check anytime now. So if you are preparing to do some shopping, don't do shopping, do some investing research. Much better, get some assets, not some liabilities. All right, let's just do that. Now, also too here, let's continue on. Schumer. This is from Fox News. Schumer says Trump's bug diagnosis shows what happens when you ignore science. Schumer also called for testing and potential isolation of Judge Amy Coney Barrett. So now you have to go back and see who was around Trump, all that good stuff, and try to isolate them, I guess. But it's going to really be interesting. Those rallies that he has, there's a lot of people there. So are all those people going to get tested? I don't know. Well, Joe Biden did get tested, and it turns out he was negative, but Trump and Melania at the moment have tested positive. I wish President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump and any White House staff members who are infected a speedy recovery. I join the nation in praying for the first family's health and safety, said Schumer. And then he added, what happened to President Trump is a reminder of why the whole country, including senators and staff, must follow the science and follow the protocols laid out by CDC and public health officials. When you ignore the science, you don't wear a mask, and you don't follow social distancing guidelines, it puts you and everyone around you at risk. So here's a lesson we can learn from the media, guys. Even from Fox News, all outlets, mainstream, you gotta dig and do your research. Schumer says Trump bug diagnosis shows having to ignore science. That's true. He did say that, but what about the beginning part when he wished him best of health to get better, all that good stuff? They didn't really focus on that. They just focused on the part where he was talking about people wearing masks and stuff. So they're cherry picking information to push their bias, I guess you can say, to kind of keep that divide and all that good stuff going on. So always do your research, and things always get taken out of context, especially with mainstream media. Do your research, do your homework. That's why I got multiple sources, and I always say, guys, you gotta dig in. You guys put some time aside. Don't take my word for it. I'm just giving you guys information that I've seen so you can spark your curiosity and look into things a little bit deeper. The Senate Minority Leader said those policies about Judge Amy Barrett, the Supreme Court nominee who last met with Trump face-to-face on Saturday when he officially announced her nomination. She met with 32 senators this week, and White House says she is tested daily and has tested negative. So it appears like these guys are testing pretty rigidly. They want to make sure that everything is okay. Pelosi said she's praying for the president, but she hopes he will now take a saner approach to the bug after being diagnosed. So you see, guys, even though they might be fighting with each other, deep down, they're all homies a little bit. They're kind of friends. But like I said, they're going to take it out of context and say that, you know, this second part of it, but they're not going to mention the first part where she's praying. So those are the things that get headlines. People click on it and they want to read on it, and then it creates a further divide. And look at this, guys. This is funny here. Look at this. Trump's obesity, a potential bug risk. Trump is a big boy, guys. He's had a lot of steaks at McDonald's. Definitely a big boy. Joe Biden says he and Joe Biden tested negative for the bug. And let's see what else we got here. That's about it from Fox. Let's continue on here. Let's switch gears a little bit, okay? This stimulus bill, it was passed by the House yesterday, but it's not completely official yet. They still have a lot of work to do. Okay, so Pelosi and Mnuchin were looking for common ground. Thursday evening voted to approve a trimmed down $2.2 trillion version of the HEROES Act. Remember, it was about $3 trillion before. Someone called it the HEROES Act 2.0. The partisan bill passed largely among party lines, but has little chance of getting Senate approval. So let's rewind. This bill was passed in the House. Now it's pushed on to the Senate, and that's what they're saying. It's probably going to have a difficult time being approved. I believe the Senate is mostly Republican. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I'm pretty sure that's how it's built. The House is mostly Democrats. So there you have it. There's that. The good news, though, if this thing gets passed, is that $1,200 check is going to be included. Those who can afford the Capitol building should review documentation. The in preparation for discussion and the time this thing before or after November 3rd election. But if this thing before, it will definitely be a win for Trump. It will definitely help his chances of re-election. Also, too, guys, the airline industry. American Airline United Airlines moved ahead on October 1st to furlough 32,000 employees as aid lapsed. So going into the holiday season, you're going to probably have longer lines, guys. On top of the lines with the whole bug. And I'm going to find out for you guys. On Monday, I will be going to California, yes. Sweet California, that's where I was born and raised. And I'm going to visit them, a few friends out there, and see what the heck is going on in California. But my flight has already been delayed an hour. If that says anything. So hopefully, not too many delays. I'll get to one piece and come back in one piece. Enhanced unemployment to sustain job seekers. We want to have that unemployment money for people through January 2021. Payroll protection for small businesses. Employee tax credit to keep staff. Extended eviction ban and potential rental assistance. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention used an obscure health law to suspend evictions through December 13th. As long as renters complete necessary paperwork. Without eviction protection, the estimate up to 40 million across 17 million households could lose their homes if the economy doesn't cover the door the latest protection lapse. This date is important, guys, because a lot of people who watch on YouTube, if you argue with eviction that once, whatever the timetable is, this whole eviction safety, once it lapses, guys, the market could potentially crash for housing, and that could be a good time to potentially buy a home. Again, nothing is confirmed, nothing is definite, but that's just the talk around town at the moment. Protection for businesses from certain bug lawsuits. Again, guys, it is a difficult time to own a business. I would not want to be a brick and mortar type business owner. You gotta pay a lot of money for sanitation, safety. Some places they have capacity limits you have to enforce. They got people coming in, checking, making sure employees have masks. It's a complete chaotic situation, guys. Good luck to anybody doing businesses. Do what you're doing, but just stay safe. That's very good right now. Funding for schools to fight the bug on campus. I know some schools have shut down again. So we have to wait and see what is the next step, guys. House approves $2.2 trillion stimulus package from Democrats with no bipartisan deal in sight. Trump has tested positive for the bug. Let's continue on here. Let's see if we have any new information. Pelosi said she was headed back to her office to review documents sent by her and Mnuchin. Pelosi and Mnuchin spoke by phone on Thursday afternoon, but after the call, there was still no deal at hand. Now, these guys are playing a game of chicken. Democrats, they passed something, right? It went through the House. Now it's going to go to the Senate. Now, if the Senate doesn't pass it, which is mostly Republican, I believe, it's going to be a major political win for Democrats. Again, I don't really support either one of the sides. I'm not Republican or Democrat, independent, but let's look at things objectively. That just makes sense. If her side can pass something, his side can't, well, guess what? She gets the one up and a better chance for election for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. All right, let's continue on here. Let's see what else we got. Pelosi reportedly spoke of the different values. So the same issues, guys, I've been telling you, they're back. The Democrats, they want more funding for unemployment, all that good stuff. The Republicans, they want more business help, small businesses funding, and all that good stuff. Rent assistance, employee payroll assistance, all those cuts. That's what the Republicans want. Now, how they're going to come to an agreement on that, that's going to be the challenge, guys. 14 Democrats members voted against the original HEROES Act back in spring, arguing it was not a plan that was signed by the president. Anything above $1 trillion would be difficult, said Senator Chuck Grassley, the chairman of the Senate Finance Committee and an Iowa Republican. There's a real revolution among Republicans to go above $1 trillion, and even $1 trillion is really difficult. So that's not good news, guys. This one is $2.2 trillion. Democrats originally wanted $3 trillion. Republicans wanted $1 trillion. So if we're going to pass something, 2.2 is kind of in the middle, right? So that could be a good idea. House passes $2.2 trillion. They keep saying Democratic coronavirus. My bad. Democratic bug stimulus bill. And it is from the Democrats, so that makes sense. But they want to make sure they emphasize that, hey, these guys are the good guys. They're trying to help out, and then Republicans are holding things up. This is Pelosi on September 29th, TV interview on Capitol Hill. The House passed the $2.2 trillion. McConnell has opposed legislation as his caucus resists spending trillions more on the federal response to the bug. The chamber approved legislation in a 214 to 207 vote. So as you guys can see, it's a pretty narrow vote. 18 Democrats voted against the measure as lawmakers in competitive district grew wary of the ongoing impasse over aid. Pelosi and Mnuchin, which they did not forge an aid agreement because the talks are still continued. They failed to bridge a gulf on a range of issues, including how much to send state and local governments and whether to establish a liability shield for businesses and schools. I'm telling you guys, businesses and schools, massive liability. Can you imagine if they don't do every single thing possible to help the bug, and someone catches the bug and then it gets spread and then it's negative publicity? Oh my God, guys, it's a freaking headache. Something I don't want to deal with right now. Congress has failed to pass a new rescue fund for months as the country reports tens of thousands of new bug cases per day, and massive corporations plan new layoffs and furloughs. So if you work, I'm going to say this, guys, if you work in the airline industry, I know that they had an agreement to pass something by midnight, or else a lot of people are going to get furloughed. A lot of those guys are in the airlines are going to be furloughed. American Airlines, I know, I read the article. It's going to be tough times, guys. Tough times unless something gets passed, which it's not looking too good, to be honest here, right? The Democrats got something. Republicans don't want to go more than $1 trillion. It's a game of chicken. But here's what's in the bill. The Democrats want to reinstate $600 per week enhanced unemployment benefit through January, send a second $1,200 payment direct to most Americans, give $436 billion in relief over 1 year to state and local governments, authorize more money for a second round of Paycheck Protection Program loans for the hardest hit businesses and industries, send $25 billion to airlines to cover payroll costs, inject $75 billion into bug testing and contact tracing efforts, put $225 billion in education, $57 billion in childcare, set aside billions for rental and mortgage assistance. That's a lot of money to manage, guys. And how do you manage $75 billion, $57 billion, $225 billion for a grand total of $2.2 trillion? Guys, it's hard to manage $100, $1,000, $10,000, $100,000, $1 million. But $2.2 trillion, it's going to be a tough sell, guys. Let's just keep it real. Mnuchin countered the Democrats' plan Wednesday with the $1.6 trillion proposal. So that's something that hasn't really been reported, but there was a counteroffer to the Democrats. But it did include, though, $250 billion for state and local government relief, $400 per week in extra unemployment benefit, $150 billion for education, $75 billion for bug testing and contact tracing, and $60 billion for rental and mortgage assistance. That's another thing to consider, guys. If this gets passed, that money for rental and mortgage assistance, you got to ask yourself, is that going to delay a potential housing market crash if people are going to be able to pay their bills and their rents for a little bit longer? Is it only going to make the housing crash be that much more worse once this thing expires? Because at some point, guys, nobody has unlimited time to pay their mortgage and their rent. At some point, people need their money. They're going to want to get paid. These things expire eventually. What happens after that? Is it going to be a year, 2 years, 3 years? Who knows? But at some point, even if this gets passed, the money will run out, and people are hopefully going to be able to get a job or get their finances back on track, or we're going to have a lot of people being foreclosed on and losing their homes. That's just the reality, guys. CBS $2.2 trillion HEROES Act would provide second round of checks. So those checks, they seem pretty much confirmed here. Nation's unemployment rate has declined to 8.4% in August from a high of 14.7% in April. More than 21 million workers remain jobless or out of the workforce because of the bug, according to an estimate from the Economic Policy Institute. Go ahead and add about 30,000 more from the airline industry, people who are furloughed. And also, there's an article about Amazon workers who a lot of them got caught with the bug as well. And then other industries that are going to be struggling, businesses, bars, depending on, and then also too guys, here's another fact. If Joe Biden wins, he has said before that he might just shut down the country again. He might do it again to keep the numbers of Americans deceased down. So if he wins the election, the economy shuts down again, where do you think things are going to be at? We may need another bill. We may have another recession or even worse. Again, a lot of uncertainty, guys. The last thing is from the Washington Post. House Democrats passed $2.2 trillion stimulus bill over GOP opposition. Bipartisan talks continue. The White House press secretary says Pelosi is not being serious. Pelosi says administration is offering the heel of the loaf. I've never heard this expression, guys. If you have, let me know in the comments below. What the hell is the heel of the loaf? That doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, Democrats passed a $2.2 trillion bug bill on Thursday. Legislation which passed okay, guys. So we can basically confirm that what I've been telling you guys, it seems across the board, this is what's happening. They passed something, but I didn't realize that Mnuchin had countered. That was interesting. I didn't know that. But he countered, and we'll see what's going to happen. But it says no deal after they meet. Pelosi anticipates reaching economic relief deal with Mnuchin, saying Trump diagnosis changes the dynamic. So is Trump going to be able to negotiate here? Is he going to just sit back? Is Mnuchin going to step in and be the de facto negotiator on Trump's behalf? We're going back and forth with our paper and conversation, Pelosi told reporters at Capitol late Thursday. Asked about the odds of reaching a deal, she replied, I don't know, it just depends, we'll see. That doesn't sound very confident, guys. What do you mean you don't know, it just depends? Can you imagine being at work and your manager or your boss asks you when something's going to get done? You tell them, I don't know, it just depends, we'll see. Well, guess what? You're going to be out of a job real quick, guys. And your vacation that you wanted to go on, guess what? It's going to be delayed because you got to get your job done first. But some of these folks, it seems like once recess comes, they go on recess, they come back, they talk a little bit, and nothing really gets done. Unfortunately, that's the times we are living, which is why elections are important. And do your research, do your homework, and figure out which ideas and ideals align with yours so you can have the best chance of being successful moving forward. And again, you gotta just do your own thing, guys. Regardless of what happens with this bill, if something gets passed or not, you can't completely rely on it. Alright guys, that's going to be the next video. As always, if you're not subscribed, don't subscribe. And if you like the video, don't forget to like. Until next time, peace.